A small majority black town in Tennessee may have to relinquish its 153-year-old charter to the state. Why? Because decades of money mismanagement. Tennessee's Comptroller of the Treasury, Jason Mumpower, wrote a letter to Mason town leaders explaining why. In my opinion, it's time for Mason to relinquish its charter. For the last 20 years, the town government has been poorly managed. Audits have been late, budgets have not been approved, major infrastructure needs have been ignored, and fraud has taken place, just to name a few issues. For years, we have been told the problems are getting fixed, but the facts tell a different story. Folks, Mason, Tennessee is about 45 miles northeast of Memphis. According to the 2020 census, the population is 1,337 people. Well, here's the racial breakdown. Whites, non-Hispanics make up 26.18%. Black or African Americans, non-Hispanic, make up 68.36%. And Native Americans, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and others, don't even combine for 2%. Hispanics and Latinos make up 3.29%. So what's driving the state to take over the black town? Let's go right to it with the Vice Mayor of Mason joining us right now. Glad to have her here. And also the chair of the Black Caucus, Representative Antonio Parkinson, the chair of the Tennessee Black Caucus from Memphis, as well as, again, the Vice Mayor. Let's go right to it, Vice Mayor Virginia Rivers. So what's going on here? First of all, the comptroller saying 20 years of problems, of major issues. Explain that.
Well, 20 years ago, that's when it all started. But that's been 20 years of when someone else did the damage to the town. It had nothing to do with the administration that's here now. Even though we did walk into it, it's still, we have done everything we could to rectify the problem that occurred before our time.
Okay, when you say they started 20 years ago, what does that mean? Who was in control 20 years ago?
The Caucasians was in control 20 years ago.
So when the comptroller says there have been audits and budgets have been late, what is he talking about?
Well, when he's talking about the budget being late, over in 2016 is when the new administration actually took over. And at that time, it was everything was behind. Everything was messed up. We came in and tried to fix what was not right and tried to gather up the things to make it right. We had to pay for things that we had no idea where they were. There were cars that we were paying for we never saw. So we have struggled all these years. Well, in the last 10 years, I put it like that, trying to make sure we have things in order. Now, granted, we're not in we're not in default of anything. All our bills are paid. When that happened back then, when the fraud happened, the courts actually ruled that they were not going to make the man pay the money back. So if they weren't going to make him pay it back, why didn't they bother to give us, allow us to not have to pay for it by writing it off? But they didn't.
What I'm trying to understand here, Representative Parkinson, is why all of a sudden, why this year is the state comptroller all of a sudden saying, oh, we're going to take over this town?
Well, I don't think it started all of a sudden. And let me be clear. I am not here to represent the comptroller or speak on behalf of the comptroller. I have been asked to look at this and to have conversations with all of the parties and to make sure that this black town is not being railroaded or being mistreated. But however, I think that the vice mayor has stated that this is an issue that has been going on for much longer than she's been elected. I think she's been elected for about 2 years now. But this issue started with white folks. And now, you know, this issue has exasperated itself, and the comptroller is stepping in and doing what he can do by law. And let's be clear also.
That when you say Can you explain that this started with white folks? What does that mean for the people?
Yes, all of this with Mason, Tennessee did not start with the vice mayor and the mayor that's in place right now, nor the mayor that was previously there before them. It started with white folks when white folks were in control of Mason, Tennessee.
Okay, so here's the deal. So even though Mason is 63% black, you had white politicians who were running the city.
Absolutely, and I'll let the vice mayor speak to that.
Vice Mayor, when did black politicians take over this town?
In 2016.
So what was the leadership? What did the leadership look like? First of all, how many council members are there on the Mason's city council?
There are 6 aldermen and with 7 with the mayor.
Okay, so prior to 2016, what was the racial makeup of Mason, Tennessee?
Pretty much what it is now.
I'm sorry, the city council. I mean, the city council.
Oh, before that, it was the same. You still had, but they were all the European Americans.
So the whole city council and the mayor was white.
Yes.
What's the racial makeup now of the city council?
We have white and Latino on our board.
So the mayor of the city, white or black?
Black.
Vice, you're black. How many white members, how many Latinos on the city council?
One white and 1 Latino.
So you have 7 members, 5 African Americans, 1 Hispanic, one white is on the city council.
Yes, sir.
So you had white leadership of Mason, Tennessee all of these years. All of a sudden, new leaders come in, and now the comptroller wants to step in. At any point in the last 20 years, did the state comptroller say, hey, Mason, we're going to take over your city?
No. When we knew that they were gonna come in, it was in February when they had a meeting with the mayor and aldermen, and that's when we just found out that they wanted us to relinquish our charter or they would come in and take over the finals. Those are our options. We didn't have any other options. And it was like a demand. It wasn't like acts. It was a demand.
So talk about this Ford facility that's coming in. How significant is this?
It's very significant because Mason can really prosper with this Ford company. We're glad the Ford company is coming. What we don't understand is why this is happening now. The comptroller has not bothered. They talk about our infrastructure of the town. If the infrastructure was so bad, you knew Ford was coming 9 years or so ago. So why didn't you bother to come in, try to help Mason get themselves together if that was the case? But I will also let you know that the mayor that's trying to take over our town, the county mayor, sits on the Ford board. Not only does he sit on the Ford board, he also has purchased, the county has purchased 300 to 500 acres of land between Mason and the mega site. So you tell me why they want to take over.
Representative Parkinson, so what do you see happening here?
Well, here's what I see, and I think it's important too that we give some context to the narrative. The takeover of the city is the takeover of finances of the city, and the takeover of finances of the city is until the debt in the city is paid, and then that takeover will be done. And so it's not like they're coming in like the comptroller is coming in and becoming the mayor of the city or taking over the entire city. The mayor is still going to be the mayor, and and they still have constituents that they have to communicate with and make sure that they are completely educated on what this process is. I just think that there's a need for more communication between the comptroller and the mayor and the vice mayor so that both mayors understand exactly what it is that the comptroller intends to do when it comes to managing the finances of the city, and so that they also know what the comptroller, what his expectations are in regards to what they think those outcomes are going to be, and how long it's going to take for them to get the city finances in order. You know, here's the thing that I think is important to understand also. Anytime a city is in posture to benefit from, let's say, this Ford deal. This Ford deal is the biggest deal probably in the history of the state of Tennessee. It's a big deal, right? And so anytime that a city is in position to be able to benefit from that, whether it's through growth, home development, more businesses, so on and so forth, the state benefits from it. And so, I would like to see the city of Mason. I would like the city of Mason be able to come through this, right, and come out of it shining, and have all of the past woes behind them, so that they do not miss this opportunity with the Ford plant coming into the city. Coming into the area.
Vice Mayor Rivers, I'm looking at this story from TennesseeLookout.com, and this is what it says. It says the comptroller points to 20-year history of fiscal mismanagement, including 2 major fraud investigations that resulted in criminal indictments. When did that take place?
That had to be back before we came in. That's during those years that he's talking about, when it was ran by the European American. So I don't think that there was 2 indictments. I will say this. The gentleman that supposedly have taken the money that they did not make pay back or anything, I know that he went to court and supposed to be indicted, but there was money taken by another individual as well, and they knew it, but they did nothing to her. And there's the African American young lady that was there is the only one that served any time.
So here's what I'm trying to understand. This story says the financial disclosures for the past 2 years are running late. Between 2004 and 2016, Mason's financials were in such disarray they were unauditable. Well, that's when you had white mayors running the city. So
Right.
reading that story, so I would assume that in the last 6 years, your financials have been filed.
They have been filed. Our financials, the reason why they're pulling that or talking about 20 years ago is because we have struggled to try to pay it. And we did ask for a 5-year plan, which they did not or have not even responded to as well. So we have a struggle to try to make sure that we pay those debts that has been paid. Some has been paid off, but yet we still have a debt that has to be paid, and we're paying it. All we asked them for was a 5-year plan so that we could finish up what we have been doing. But no, they don't want to do it. They didn't respond to it, has not yet responded to it, and I don't think they have an intent to respond to it.
So, Representative Parkinson, again, I'm looking at this story here. It says in 2011, a former Mason town clerk pleaded guilty to embezzling $100,000 in taxpayer funds. That was 11 years ago. In 2016, a former public works superintendent was indicted by a Tipton County grand jury after investigators discovered he had paid himself an extra $600,000 between 2007 and 2015. The town's financial problems stretched back even further. A 2001 state examination of the town's finances found numerous accounting errors in tax and court collections. Okay, so again, this is what I'm really trying to understand. And in fact, this says in 2015, after fraud allegations emerged, nearly the entire town government resigned, leaving a newly elected junior alderman, Gwen Kilpatrick, to assume the office of mayor. She became the city's first black mayor. Since then, the city's leadership has remained largely African American. So what I'm trying to understand is, if I'm looking at all of these examples, they're going back 20, 21 years. So what's the actual picture of Mason in the last 2 to 4 years? I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, this person was indicted 11 years ago. Okay, well, what about the last 4 years? I mean, it's a little hard for me. It's a little hard for me to say I'm going to hold you accountable for something that happened 11, 15, 20, 21 years ago versus the most recent issues.
Right. Well, from what I understand, and forgive me, my daughters are walking in and out.
Okay.
From what I understand, There was some concerns raised in the last administration also by the comptroller. Now, I'm not clear on how the communications went, before that when it was under the control of white folks. But I think the key here is this, Mr. Martin, they did not give up the charter. And I'm glad that they did not do that. And so what that means is Mason is still a city. And Mason still has a mayor, and Mason still has a vice mayor, and still has their board.
So he was asking them to voluntarily give up their charter, and then okay. So now that they did not, what now happens?
See, the thing is you got to look at that, how that was proposed. Hey, give up your charter, or we're going to take over. No, you're only going to take over the finances until the finances are right, and that's it. That's all he can do by law. He cannot take the city. And so people need to understand that. And, myself and other legislators, all of us in the Black Caucus, we'll be monitoring this thing also and seeing if there is a way for us to create an environment where they are possibly working together, because by law, they can take over the finances of a city that may have been in a situation like this. And it has happened before in Tennessee also, and to cities that were not Black cities. And so, so there is a precedence of this happening multiple times, actually before Mason. Do not go out the door, please. Multiple times before Mason. And this situation is another one of those situations where they are exercising that state law given right to the comptroller. Now, can we have conversations and find ways to have the comptroller, help them to become a better city as we're coming through this process? Have the suggestions in place, have the infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about the financial infrastructure in place for them to be able to grow the city. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. But the key is they did not give up that charter, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Vice Mayor, what exactly is next for you as well as the city council? Are you, when you talk about issues that you've had, y'all looking for a repayment plan? I mean, what is y'all plan to move forward to address the financial issues raised by the state controller?
Well, our plans were to hire city manager, along with maybe having to cut some salaries. And moving forward, we had already presented the things that we wanted to do for us to see the town to grow. But we have got to get out under the situation that we are in. And I'm ready for our town to get out money as well as to grow. But I would like to know, why can't the comptrollers come in and do just what is being said? Just help us with our finances so we can benefit and not miss out on anything that Ford has to offer.
All right. Well, we certainly will be seeing what takes place next. Vice Mayor Rivers, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Representative Parkinson, thank you very much as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no
punches.
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?